Welcome, everybody, to No Driving Gloves, the gloves off approach to the automotive hobby. It's going to be a solo with John tonight. Got a lot of things going on behind the scenes with No Driving Gloves, and to be honest, don't know what direction or what's going to happen. We've got a lot of ideas. Um, it's just so much going on in everybody's lives. We're working on a whole bunch of ideas, but I do promise we're going to take this back to the raw way No Driving Gloves was. Man, literally a gloves off approach. We got a bone to pick about, you name it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to cover a little bit new stuff, maybe a little bit of old stuff. Just going to be an interesting, excuse me, that's horrible. It's just going to be an interesting thing. What we're doing tonight, or what my topic tonight is, I had a couple of interesting things happen to me, and it felt like something that should be discussed or talked to you about, and really not a discussion because it's things that happened factually. It'd be a really good solo episode. And it all goes back to my 2015 Ford Fiesta that I've owned for about 2.5, almost 3 years. December would have been 3 years. Late December would have been. Got rid of it about 3 months shy, 4 months shy of having it 3 years. And we're going to talk about why I bought the car, the numbers behind the car, the reason it existed, what it did, the overall impression I had with the car, what I knew going in, what I know going out. And the very interesting thing that came up to me very late in the decision, and that was the disposal of the car. Because as regular listeners of No Driving Gloves know, it suffered kind of a terminal failure that really came down to car value, expected future life out of the car, and repair costs. And we'll find out how I dispose of that and whether or not I'm happy with the disposal and then the overall ownership experience. This is not a review of a 2015 Ford Fiesta. To sum it up really quickly, I'm considering buying another Ford Fiesta, maybe a couple years newer, a lot fewer miles, etc. Don't know yet. That's actually gets into an insurance question that will be discussed later on. Kind of putting this episode together for some of my coworkers, and that as I try to explain the concept and the thinking behind having this Fiesta. Many of you know I do auditing for a major computer company in retail settings, and that training, product placement, security, making sure things function, making sure the stores are doing what they're contracted to do, things like that. It's not a numbers auditor or anything, but it's literally going in, and I do 5 or 6 a day, and I drive 2,000 or 3,000 miles a month. And when I accepted this job, I actually only owned one car. It's drastically different over the years. And that was my 2020 Mini Cooper S model, 2-door coupe or hatchback, I guess. And fun car, neat car to drive. Not exactly the best long distance traveling car, not the best car to put miles on. This car, it's a Mini, and I've always had a love-hate relationship with Minis, and for many, many, many years, I had a hate relationship with Minis. The Fiat 500 made me kind of love Minis again. And then again, I'm kind of considering a Fiat 500 possibly to replace the Fiesta. Probably not, but who knows? So I got the job in about May, and part of the job is your paid mileage. And while everybody says, oh, you can write off mileage and you get this and the government allows this, when it comes down to being a W-2 employee for a company that you're expected to drive, you get paid what their mileage is. Due to tax law changes in 2017, and I'm surprised we didn't revert back with the recent big, beautiful bill. But then again, they changed in 2017 with the same person who's in charge then as now. And that eliminated the ability for people like me to go and write off the difference in mileage from what the employer pays to what the IRS allows. So simply put, at the time I was paid 35 or 36 cents a mile for what I drove. So driving, say, 3,000 miles a month, simple math is that's just about $1,000, give or take, per month added to my income. That is for vehicle expenses, gas, insurance, wear and tear, maintenance, etc. Driving 3,000 miles a month in a car that gets 40 miles a gallon is advantageous. So you're looking at about 85 gallons of gas a month, $2 a gallon, $2.50, $3. I guess at the time it was about $3 a gallon. Well, you're looking at $240 of that going out the window. Insurance is a little bit of a different thing. If you have the proper insurance and the commercial insurance, it costs you a little bit more than your commuter car. Plus, you're also driving an additional mileage, etc. But I did that for the first 6 or 7, well, beta 7 months. Now, at the time, I also had an incident with the Mini where it actually was in the shop and got a motor replacement due to, we'll just say, negligence on my part. It really wasn't, but it's a long story. Motor got damaged. Motor needed to be replaced. So I had a rental car also for a period of time. So I didn't have the wear and tear to my car. But needless to say, after 21,000 miles of driving and that, I had saved up a little bit of money. So I went out and bought, and it's behind me. I'll step away for a second. My little black 2015 Ford Fiesta. Took that car, I think out the door, it was about $5,800. I looked at buying an extended warranty with it. I let that go after having it a couple of months because it was, even though it was Ford, it was sold through an aftermarket company that was backed by Ford. And I don't know, it just was difficult to make the payments on the damn thing. You know, they couldn't integrate the two loans. So I let it go. And it turns out I didn't really need it. It did go into service while I had that warranty. I bought the car with 82,000 miles. At about 92,000 miles, the known problem for 2014 to 2016, possibly a little bit earlier, possibly a couple of the later years, it just kind of hit or miss on the, if you go beyond 16 and prior to 14, really. They had transmission issues, and it was the transmission control module, or the TCM. And this car suffered from that. And I got that replaced, but it was actually a recall. If it had never been done to the car, it was replaced under the recall, not necessarily the warranty. So that was taken care of. Car ran flawlessly. Never had another real big mechanical problem for the next, well, until about 155,000 miles. Got 35 to 42 miles a gallon, day in, day out. I put the miles on it, put the gas in it, paid the insurance on it, and the full coverage on this car was about $110 a month for somebody with my driving record, which is reasonably good. I don't have tickets or anything. So I was real happy with the insurance rate, etc. Drove the car. It was very comfortable on long drives. Being a Fiesta, it was small and nimble. It's tempting to get the Fiesta ST. Any of you that listen to, I can't think of his name, has been on the show before too, Matt with the smoking tire, he had his Fiesta ST and absolutely loved it. A big guy, squeezed into it, and ended up, as soon as the Focus ST came out, he stepped up and bought a Focus ST. He was one of the first people to have one delivered, and absolutely hated that car because the Focus is just a little bit bigger, a little bit more comfortable. So the Fiesta was always fun to drive, especially these backcountry roads when you're going to the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, or middle of nowhere, Tennessee, or middle of nowhere, Alabama. Or I even took it to Illinois a few times to visit my family. It just a good driving little car. Excuse me. And I enjoyed it. Radio worked well. Hate the Ford Sync 1 system, which that car basically had. Horrible to navigate, horrible to work through, but just always connect Bluetooth or hardwire in my iPod or iPad, depending on what I was using at the time. And that car was literally dedicated to work. I had a desk in the passenger seat. I had supplies in the back seat, things that I may need, things that I have to take to stores, and luggage and stuff in the back when I was traveling overnight. It worked out great, very secure. Like I said, never really had any problems. And then I had to replace a set of tires on it. First time, one of the first times in my life I've actually ever had to replace a set of tires. Normally I don't own a car long enough. Actually, I replaced 2 sets of tires on this car. Earlier this year, spring of this year, I put a new set of tires on the car. And again, like I said, worked great, did the job, talked to people that I work with saying, you know, if you properly do this job, you put your mileage money into the vehicle and don't count on it as income. It's a great financial thing to have this other car, because for me to have put approximately, I'm going to round it, 100,000 miles on the Mini, as it sits today, I'd have a Mini with almost 160,000 miles on it, which is a completely worn out junk Mini and extremely expensive to fix and maintain, and BMW issues. And I would have worn out the car, and that car is meant to be a fun toy. My girlfriend absolutely loves it. She had actually said she goes out with me because I had bought the Mini. She saw it on my dating profile, and that was what inspired her to say yes to our first date. And here we are years later. She's in the other room, happily watching TV, hopefully the podcast. But I didn't have to wear out a fun car. And plus I had a change of cars. What was work, and what was personal was personal. It was great. And after about a year, I go, hey, I enjoy cigars. So I stepped up and had, said, nobody else ever rides in this car. This car is set up for one person. I'm going to start smoking cigars in it. So I smoked my cigars in it. And it just worked. It was good to drive. I've said it multiple times, and I will say it again. It did everything it was supposed to do. I did have a battery go bad last fall. Went up to Walmart. I think it was $110. Bought a battery for it, stuck it in it, and it just purred right along. About a year and a half ago, it was having a couple of issues, making a squeaking noise and that. So I took it up to one of the local service centers and said, hey, go through this thing and tell me everything's wrong with it. And they came back with a list, needed a timing belt, because nobody knows when the timing belt was done. Should have been done at 80 or 100,000 miles. Should have been done. Nobody knows if it would have been done. That would have been $1,500 repair. It needed a rear wheel bearing. That was the main reason I took it in. Been a $500 on the estimate. I should have pulled out the sheet. I think I still have it somewhere around here. Needed a new cooling fan. Can't remember what that cost. They recommended rear brakes and a couple other things. Basically, their estimate came back to me at about $3,000 or so dollars. And I'm sitting here thinking, $6,000 car, $3,000 in repairs. Do we really want to do it? And that's when I pulled back on my knowledge and my education, saved myself $3,000. I went ahead and did the wheel bearing myself. I did the cooling fan myself. Couple other little things, but basically I got the majority of the list of things to worry about other than the timing belt. And this comes into a key play recently. I got everything done and repaired for less than $500, $3,000, $500, take the timing belt off, still saving $1,500, $2,000 in this deal. So after that was done, car ran fine. Car ran great. Did everything good up until about 150,000 miles. That's when that battery went bad and needed another set of tires. So we stuck another set of tires on it. About $400 per set of tires. Can't remember, 195, 50, 16, something like that. And bought them through Tire Rack, had Discount Tire, put the tires on. Don't think I ever got the car aligned. I mean, I did hit a huge, huge piece of steel in the interstate one day and blew out a front tire. I was one of the first people to get there, blew out the front tire on my car. But by the time I had taken my front tire off, put the spare on the front, taken the flat, put it on the rear, taken the rear tire, put it back on the front because it's front wheel drive. You don't want the compact spare and all that, drive a distance on the same drive axle there, put the compact spare on the back. By the time I got all that done, there were about 60 cars around me with 1, 2, 4 flat tires from this huge piece of steel that was on the interstate. And I buzzed on down the road. I'm sure glad I wasn't one of the late arrivals to that, because you would have been there for a day waiting for your tow truck and that. You know, if you need 4 tires, what a thing. So it probably did need an alignment or something, but I mean, it worked good. Everything felt great. Every now and then it would get a little bit funky in the rain, which we eventually figured out what the issue was. But I had, I was coming home one day, and in John seems to have pretty good luck. Sometimes it goes bad, but John has pretty good luck. I heard belt squeaking. And all I got to do is, get home, and then we'll look and see if the belt's a problem. Well, the belt snapped at some point, and I'm pretty sure I know where it broke. And I got about another 40 miles down the road, and then I got the red light about the battery and issues like that. And this happened near a small town about 10 miles from my house. And I said, well, I'm just going to coast off the road into this grocery store. Again, John Luck, a local reputable service shop, had built another location next to this grocery store. So instead of the grocery store, I coasted in there, and they looked at it and diagnosed it. I opened my hood, and yep, the serpentine belt, not the timing belt, the serpentine belt had broken. So I needed to get a new one of those, told them what the problem was. He said, oh yeah, we can get to you. So it took about 3 hours, and they had to get some special tools because a 15 Fiesta uses a stretch belt. It doesn't have a belt tensioner. It relies on the stretch of the belt to keep tension on it. And they popped it on, and everything was hunky-dory for a day. And what ended up happening is I got up, go to do my route the next day. No, it was next day or a day later. And got about halfway to where I was going, which is about 40 miles from here. And the car started to overheat. Never had an overheating issue. Came back and decided I got more cars at home. I'll turn around. I decided to come home, got home. And what had happened when they were putting the serpentine belt on, no fault to the shop whatsoever. They had hit a hard line, and it had some gunk or something where the rubber, where it met the coolant overflow, cracked. And I mean, car's got 150,000 miles on it. That piece was worn out. So I was going to take it back to them. They were going to take a look at it. But as I started to go there 10 miles to their shop, I go, nah, I'm not going to risk it. So I pulled into a little shop that's 2 miles from my house or so, dropped it off. They diagnosed the problem. They also diagnosed a bad tie rod, which probably goes all the way back to that 2 years to that steel plate, and is why the car handled roughly in the rain. Had that done, and they repaired it. I think I was out of there for $100. That first repair for the belt, they got me out the door for like $98, and the next repair to fix that little coolant leak, the tie rod, the oil change, a couple of that, I think I was out of there for like $150, $170. And then everything was good, and I'm debating, I'm starting to put a little bit of money into the car. Do I do the timing belt? I'm going to have to do the timing belt. The intention was to drive this car into the ground once it died, to quit my traveling job and get something more local, which still is in the realm of possibilities. And so I'm still thinking on the timing belt, In a month, let's say a month or two goes by, but probably 161,000 miles on the car. Left the house, drove 1.5 miles down the road, got to the first stoplight, went to go, and the thing just revs. And I go, oh no. So I let up, thing just revs. So I let up, and I shifted it into park, shifted it back into drive, floored it, the thing moved. So I did a little fancy U-turn, came back home, had other cars. This is a transmission issue. These cars are known for transmission issues. And it's the dual clutch automatic. It's not really a stick shift or anything, but it actually uses a dual clutch with the automatic that's oil lubricated, and you can shift through the gears with buttons. But I think even a Tiptonic in a Porsche is a better transmission than this thing. So I drove it home and then used the Mini and the Maverick a little bit back and forth, why I'm making a decision what to do with this car. Transmission place, believe it or not, I live in a very nice area of town. Some of the wealthiest people, not that I'm one of them. There's two shops down the road. There is a Mr. Transmission. I stopped by and talked to them, and they said, well, it could be a clutch, and it could be an adjustment. That's going to run you $600-$700. It's going to, if it's the clutch plates, you're going to be about $1,200 to $1,500. And if it does need a transmission, you're going to be about $5,000. Now, when it comes to stuff like this is when John's luck doesn't work. Hit back, and I'm going, it's going to be I'm hoping $4,000 to $5,000. Well, in doing all the math, say it's even just the clutch plates, if $1,500, and if I'm going to put $1,500 into it, then I got to put another $1,500 to $2,000 for the timing belt, because for some reason my estimates kept getting higher and higher on that. And then while it sat in the garage for a month while I'm making my decision, the battery went completely dead. Now, yes, it's a cheap Walmart battery, $100. And I go, it still shouldn't go dead. And I couldn't get the thing to recharge. I hate new battery chargers. But so I took it back to Walmart, had a warranty on it. They just traded it in over the counter, put it in the car started up. And about then's when I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and buy another car for work. But I can't have 5 cars, basically due to covenants for my subdivision. Her car, my truck, my Mini, my broken car. I couldn't come home with another car. The shuffling's all about that. And I was looking at CarMax stuff, and I wonder if CarMax would take the car. They supposedly will buy anything. So I went ahead and did I went to CarMax and looked at a couple of cars. And I like buying cars at CarMax, especially in these situations, because for on a Ford like the Fiesta. For about $2,500, you can get a warranty that's good to 150,000 miles and possibly up to 5 years from the time of purchase. And I'm looking at cars like 24,000 miles. And for $2,500 to have a 125,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty for a national dealership that I could go to any CarMax in the country or any of their partner repair places, to me really seems worth it. Yes, you pay a little bit more for the car, and that we can debate on buying cars at CarMax on a different episode. But I go in and drive a couple, and I asked the salesman, I said, well, I don't have a trade, but I want to just get rid of this car and sell it to you guys. But I'll use it as a trade because I want to make sure you take it off my hands. I don't care if you give me $1 for this car. I just need it gone to allow me to buy another car. He says, we'll buy it. He said, just bring it over. I said, well, it runs, but I don't trust the transmission to get it here. And I'm not going to be that guy that tries to drive it because you know that guy. He gets to be the first guy at a stoplight. Car doesn't move. You screw up traffic for everybody else. And I said, I don't want to tow it here without knowing a deal in case you guys reject it. And he said, we're not going to reject it. The least I've ever seen him pay is $100. So I looked at a few more cars in that. And then finally, this last Saturday, 5-6 days ago, we're recording this on a Thursday night again, I went ahead and called AAA, and they kindly sent this little tow truck here. Got here in an hour, maybe, actually 30 minutes or so. Then did it through the app, came over, told the guy what I needed, told him, unfortunately, the car doesn't start because the battery's dead. So I have within a week, actually a couple of days, the battery went completely dead again. So not only do I have the timing belt, the transmission, I have a parasitic electrical draw somewhere now too. So I'm just looking, it's going to cost as much as the car's worth to repair it. And it's all these little things, and in 150,000 miles, didn't have any problems. Granted, I didn't have it for the first 80, so I don't know why it wasn't true. And in the last 10,000 miles, we have broken belt, broken hose, things are beginning to wear out. And these life expectancy on these cars is 180 to 200,000 miles. So I'm right there. So he comes, he pushed it out of the driveway. Took him less than 5 minutes to hook it up, and he's gone. I hopped in the truck, went over to CarMax, looked at a couple of cars that I had transferred in, still undecided on those. Went ahead and did the sale, and in the end, they gave me $700 for my semi-running 2015 Ford Fiesta with good tires, with a tan interior, so the driver's seat was stained and a mess. I didn't clean the car out. The carpets were dirty, etc. Started and ran after a jump box was put on it. The passenger door from the incident back in March where I was turning left and somebody didn't yield in the right turn lane, hit me in the door. And I always intended to go buy a $300 door and replace it. Just never got around to it because it's the work car. Who the hell cares? So big dent in the door, stains in the seat, cigar connoisseur driven, and cigar usage in the car, etc. I did an online thing that came up at $700. Also did it for Carvana, and Carvana would have come and got the car, and they told me they'd give me $300, but they would have to take it back, evaluate it, and then I could they would wire me or send me my $300. So I took the gamble, had AAA tow the car over to CarMax. CarMax looked at it, did their thing, and offered me the same amount that they did online. We didn't even cross-reference my online estimate to the in-store thing. I have a feeling that had to do something with the salesperson and probably some commission or kickback. But I got $700 for it. So the real easy sale, and why I was debating from the time I did the online thing with CarMax to actually selling the car to CarMax and towing it over there, I did see a YouTube short where some YouTubers, and I don't know who they are, maybe you do, they had acquired a Corvette C8 Z06 that was absolutely totaled, and it needed new frame horns on the front, and the Chevy dealer refused to put them on. So since they couldn't get a certified shop to do that repair in Georgia, they couldn't do anything with the car. So they had taken it to CarMax to see what CarMax would give them for it. And the woman was, I don't know, we'll get a buyer out here to look at it, but we're not going to get what you expect. And well, who knows what they were expecting. The short ended, and I never tracked it down. But I go, well, maybe I'm not so crazy taking a broken car over to them. In the long run, I don't think I was crazy. So if we do quick, loose math on the car, $5,800 for the car, I gave you about $1,000 in repairs. Put on 2 sets of tires for another $800. Figure I didn't do oil changes regularly, maybe every 10,000 miles, figure $50 an oil change. So 10 oil changes, not even that, probably like 6 oil changes. So $300 in oil changes. So 5,600, 800, 64 at 6,400, add 1,000 for repairs. $7,400, add the oil changes in, about $7,700. So we'll say $8,000 for the car and the maintenance repairing it. Then take into effect, I sold the car with 161,000 miles on it. I bought it with 82. So we put basically 80,000 miles on the car. I did the gas math, etc. And I came up with, basically I had about $22,000 into gas, insurance, maintenance, buying the car, etc. And while our mileage rate varied a little bit with work, I used a figure, and I think it was 33 cents a mile or something. The car earned me somewhere around $28,000. It was $29,000. But basically, when I was done, my cash ahead was about $10,200. And I don't have the notes that I sat down the other night and actually wrote out. So even though people think, well, I'm just going to drive my car, but you buy a brand new car in November, and in June, it's got 30,000 miles on it. You've wasted the warranty. Yeah, you could have bought an extended warranty, makes the car more expensive. You have all of these little issues that you depreciate the thing out overnight. You can't write off depreciation because it's not a company car. You get your 30 some cents a mile, and you're getting $3,300 again every 10,000 miles. You got 30,000 miles on a car. They paid you $9,000. You've got a $35,000 Hyundai that's got 30,000 miles on it. Its wholesale value might be 20. Plus you've put gas in it, insured it. You're way behind in the game. Me, I went out, I took a risk. I mean, I bought at the time, 8-year-old car with a lot of miles on it with a known issue. The transmission's a known issue on Fiestas and Focuses and that, like I said, of that era. So I took the gamble, and in my opinion, I won. I enjoyed the car immensely. I hated to see it go. I really thought about going, well, if I put $5,000 into it, I know what I got. And then it's just fix other things. Put $5,000 into this car, or 10 or 15 grand into another car. I put $5,000 into this car. I still got $10,000 for additional repairs. The problem is when I'm 300 miles from the house and it breaks, even if I've got, and I do have AAA's top insurance, they'll tow it home for me. But the amount of money I lose, the days of work I lose, I can't take that inconvenience. And that was the final decision, that I couldn't take that inconvenience. So the Ford Fiesta went away a few days ago. I am ecstatic about my ownership of it. It was a great car. Like I said, to the point I really thinking about getting another one. The issue I'm having with another one goes to insurance. Well, actually, Jason said if you see a Ford Focus, no, they knew right away it's a Fiesta. It's gonna get wholesaled. Or it's going to wholesale, going to auction. It won't be at a CarMax. You'll see it somewhere else. CarMax doesn't sell cars with that many miles on it anyway. They, what was I saying? The issue is this car cost me $110 a month to insure. I looked at a 19 and it was going to cost, well, put it this way. This car was $660 every 6 months. Full coverage, and I carry top of the line. I mean, it's like 250, 500, just because my umbrella policy requires me to carry maximums on my car. It's not the minimum insurance. I could be a lot cheaper if I wanted. I have rental car. I have towing, roadside assistance, 100, 250 deductibles. So, I pay for my insurance. I don't nitpick and be cheap with it, but that, $660 every 6 months. So $1,200, $1,300 a year to insure this car. A 2019 Ford Fiesta SE hatchback, going hatchback this time, almost $1,000. I think it was $980 to insure. And I can't understand the $300 every 6 months, $600 a year difference. It's an extra $50 a month. I mean, heck, the insurance payment is as much as the car payment. I looked at a Focus hatchback. Actually, no, I got quotes on a Focus hatchback, a 19 Focus hatchback, and a 19 Focus sedan, titanium level sedan, SEL level hatchback. And those were north of $1,000 through my insurance company, where I have multiple policies, accident-free, longevity discounts. I get like 8 different discounts from them. Funny thing is I said, well, run a 16 Ford Focus ST. Maybe I want the little sporty version, but nah, there's no way I'm going to want to pay the insurance. The insurance was just south of $900. It was cheaper to insure the ST, 2016 ST. Then I got a quote on a 2013 Ford Fiesta. Very low miles, very, very or low miles. I think it was about 90,000 mile car. $2,500 for the warranty, so I'd pay $2,500 to have 55,000 miles of warranty, give or take. And I'm not sure if that would have been worth it. And what was I saying? Oh, that insurance was still like $190 a month. It was still right at that $990 level. And I'm just confused on all of this. So I got fed up with these stupid numbers I was getting, and I found a 2015 Ford Fiesta SE sedan, exactly like the one that's behind me in the picture if you're watching this on YouTube, except it's a red car with different wheels. And they're just factory Ford premium wheels, whatever. That car came in about $140 something a month. So it still was $40 or some dollars more than the car that I just got rid of. Can't figure it out. I did spend 4 hours with my insurance agent today talking about it, and he's got some questions. We've got some questions about some rates, and he's going to really try to get to the bottom of this. Why I don't have any at-fault accidents. I don't have any payouts on the insurance that are active on my policy other than the motor, which was a comp claim, and so it does not affect my rates. To be honest, my Maverick when I bought it in April, it was $475 every 6 months. Now it's $750 every 6 months before I've even had it 6 months. And it's supposed to go up to $996, I think it is, upon renewal for 6-month renewal in October. And he can't explain that one either, because the Mini goes up $5. Why that car is having such massive price jumps, we don't know. But I'm not knocking State Farm. Great agent. I've been with State Farm 30 years. I'm willing to go elsewhere if I can get a deal with a reputable company. But I've always had great luck with State Farm. But then again, I've only used State Farm 1 or 2 times in my life to actually make a claim. I really just enjoy sending them money. So the insurance thing is what's keeping me out of the new car. Getting great financing rates, finding great cars through CarMax again. I can go not CarMax and I can buy this, say, a 2018 Fiesta with similar miles from a local used car lot for $12,900 instead of $14,500. But for $1,500 CarMax markup and the ability to give them another $2,500 to have the extended warranty, which I'm sure the used car dealership would sell me an extended warranty, but I don't know the reputation behind that extended warranty. I know how CarMax's works. I've got a friend who had a Mercedes until unfortunately it was totaled. That was bought through CarMax, and they took care of the stupidest things. They give you loaner cars, etc. There's a couple of YouTube videos on how great the CarMax Max Care warranties are. I did look at a BMW 228i. The warrant would not buy. That would not be a car I would consider at CarMax. I mean, the warranty was $4,800, and it would only go to 125,000 miles, not 150. But we all know BMW 228i's have service issues. Buying a used Mini from CarMax, same warranty rates. So it's kind of expensive, depending on the car, it's expensive. These run-of-the-mill everyday Fords and Toyotas and stuff like that, the warranty's $2,000 to $3,000. That's based on the $600 deductible level. Honestly, if I bought it, I'd do the $400 deductible, because the 600, there's usually only about $120, $130 difference in those two levels. So one repair covers the price difference. Do 2 repairs, you're way ahead of the game. Now to go down to their $50 and $200 deductible levels, it gets pretty expensive. But you should be willing to put $400 into a car repair. If you can't put $400 into a car repair, you really need to be having a warranty on your car. And it's kind of a catch-22 thing. Because if you also don't have $400 to put into a car repair, you probably don't have $2,500 to put into a warranty. And that's not knocking that. I mean, that's just facts of life. And like I say, I take these things into consideration because of what I do, my driving. We'll see how it all works out in the very end. I'm sure I'll be telling you guys in the next couple of weeks, yay, I bought such and such, if I decide to keep this job. Going a little bit off topic, I've brought up that Hustle and Heritage is my new men's focused gift shop. We've got the certificate of occupancy. It's a store within a store, so it's a large store that has multiple booths. A lot of people can relate to it like an antique mall or something. But these are all individual small businesses, not necessarily hobbyists. And it's fairly new items. It's new items, clothing items, what I want to say, gift items from, there's 100 and some people in this store, and everybody's got a different idea on what to have. So it's a good little place to go for gifts and, quality items, very little antique, very little vintage. You're prohibited from selling used items, but you can sell antique or vintage, which I don't know how you get to antique or vintage and not be used. But then again, I just watched a video on a 160-mile Chrysler Crossfire. So I guess that's almost antique and never been used. But whatever. But we know I'm opening that business. I'm working on looking for commercial real estate for warehousing for my antique business and that business, and a podcast production studio. So there's a lot of things in play for me. There's a lot of things in play for Derek. He could be seeing some changes, and he may have to step away from the podcast. Him and Dave do an excellent podcast together. One of the conversations has been, I step back a little bit and let Dave and Derek do the collector car podcast with me kind of as a producer, and I might pop in with a little quote or something instead of being, I feel a lot of times on that I make a crazy statement. Don't know if Dave and Clayton, who was a guest on their show, which thank you, everybody. That is one of our best performing shows ever. I think the only show that's showing in recent history performing better is the ones with Courtney Hansen. And that happened to be the same week Courtney came out with her new photo spread with the side boob and everything else, which everybody's guilty of liking a little bit of side boob. So, I mean, I'm sure people were searching Courtney Hansen, and that's why we saw a bump in her show's numbers. So don't know if we're going to do that. Don't know if we're going to split it into two shows. Don't know. Don't know how it's all going to shape out. Don't know if I'm going to find a co-host, whether I'm going to go to an interview only show. We're tossing around a lot of things. We love bringing, driving gloves. It's a good break to our week, but we have been doing it for 8 years. The numbers aren't quite where we want it to be. We're happy with the listenership, but I keep looking at a lot of 8-year-old shows, and they're doing a little bit better. But then again, I look at a lot of 8-year-old shows that are doing a lot worse. Jason saying the chemistry is good. Let's see what else. He's had a couple of comments, and unfortunately, I can't watch it when I'm also doing the whole show. But do I think this will be one of those cars? No. This car, Jason's asking, is this one of the cars that I wish I had not sold? Because we do talk a lot about, and I wish there's a few cars I've had that I wish I hadn't sold. There's some cars I'm glad to hell I sold. But this car was bought. I rarely do this. And this is probably more of a Dave Ramsey thinking than a John Viviani thinking. This car was bought with a purpose. It was bought as a tool. It served that purpose. The experiment worked out where I came out ahead at the end of the game. And why I love the car, and like I said, there's a good chance I'm going to replace it with the same car. I might do the hatchback just to be a little bit different, because I almost bought a hatchback the day I bought this car, but there was some car dealer manipulation when that came to it. But it, no, I will look back fondly on this car. Yeah, it's a Ford Fiesta, but it's not, what do I want to say? It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It did and I got my money out of it. I never regretted one day getting into it to drive it. As a matter of fact, there's some days I'd get into it just to drive it over the Mini, or possibly even the Maverick. When the cars actually overlapped, there weren't very many months that they all overlapped. But again, it's just a fabulous little car. The local CarMax, like I said, for $14,500. Hopefully nobody goes out and buys it or reserves it. Has one with 28,000 miles on it. There's one with 24,000 miles on it for Fiestas. And there's two Focuses that are about the same money, same model year, that are 50,000 mile cars. So Focuses do hold the value a little bit better. And if you want to compare my comparison, it's kind of Matt Farah-ish. I absolutely loved driving the Focus. It was comfortable. The seats were comfortable. Good driving position. The size was nice. It had a couple more features than the Fiestas did. But it didn't feel as tossable. It didn't feel as fun. It felt like a bigger, heavier car. And while it's only a couple inches bigger or such, former co-host Sean Yoder, he had a Focus ST. And he said he liked the Fiesta better, except he didn't fit in it. Now, Farah fit in his. I don't know why Yoder didn't fit into his. They both are about the same size when those cars were relevant. I just think I might like the Fiesta. I mean, because it does everything I need it to do. I don't really need the space, but the comfort. So I don't know. And that's kind of why I walked away from it for a little bit, deciding as I was standing in the CarMax slot on Saturday, and I could not tell you which was the better of the two cars. And I just couldn't write a check. Whatever I bought, there's going to be days I go, boy, I wish I had the more comfortable, bigger car. Like when I bought my pizza oven, we squeezed a pizza oven, one of those Blackstone $700 pizza ovens, into that black car with my luggage because I was going out of town. And it was my first store on the road trip. So we squeezed all of that in there. Had to come out of the box, but it all fit in there. Focus, it would have been a little bit better. So I don't know, but overall, the Fiesta was a great car. I came out ahead. I'm not disappointed one thing to do with it. CarMax was a dream to deal with on selling the car back to them. No questions asked. Like I said, I put the information in honestly that the car had been smoked, that the car had body damage, that the car had no reported accidents. Now, that's a key thing. If it would have had a Carfax, if I would have had that fixed through a body shop or something, it would have dinged the value. I'm pretty sure of that. But I acknowledge that the car had damage, but it had not been in an accident, because that question means, does it have a Carfax, not has it been in an accident? And that's what the salesperson explained to me too. And I mean, they went through and they were picky on it. You know, they complained about it had some rear bumper damage to it. The seats were stained. They said the back seats was stained, and I don't know how the back seat was stained, because it was exactly the same way I bought it, because I covered it. And then, like I said, I had my refrigerator on one side and a box of stuff on the other. But so overall, wonderful experience. One of the best ownership experiences I've had with a car. Yes, it's just a mundane, cheap Ford, but go way back to when I started looking. I said to Derek, I say, well, what do you know about these things? And he goes, well, we used to have, I think they had a Focus of the previous generation, like an 08, 09. And I can't remember if that was him and his current wife or him and his ex-wife, but at some point he had owned one, and he liked the car too. So there you go. I bored you for about an hour talking about my Fiesta, talking about the logic behind buying a car solely for work to preserve your personal vehicles, and my CarMax experience. So I think all of that combined, hopefully that didn't make for a boring episode. I had my sheet out with all the numbers down to the penny, and I didn't want another boring numbers episode for you. I wanted to talk to you honest and kind of off the cuff. I put the numbers together. I knew roughly what the numbers were in my head. So I think everybody who's watched and who has enjoyed the show tonight, best thing you can do for No Driving Loves is tell somebody about the show, share the show. We've got over 400 episodes in our back catalog, some big big name celebrities. To be honest, our Courtney Hansen interview, since we brought her up earlier, is one of the longest interviews with Courtney Hansen that's out there. Most of her interviews are 5 or 6 minutes. We had her for almost an hour. So, Jason's gonna. I'm gonna do Jason's quote, and then I'm gonna probably get out of here. But he says it's not what type of car it is, whether it's a Fiesta or a 812 Superfast, which Jason's in the market for if anybody has one. It's all about the memories created and how it makes you feel. He said it's a great story, and that's true. I didn't mind getting out of that Fiesta and looking back at it. It always made me feel good. The only time I dreaded getting into it is when I'm going, God damn, I'm going to work. And that's why maybe a Fiesta STs could be the next thing in the driveway. But with that, you know my story. It's time to get off your ass, go burn some gas. Oh, and check out Hustle and Heritage on the website goes live September 7th, 2025. Check that out. Now, get off your ass, go burn some gas, because the John is out.